What's up, everyone? This is Teresa Allen, aka t-zer, reporting again from A Life Story and the podcast Dance and Talks. Now, I'm traveling, I'm in Sweden, and I have different backgrounds on every interview, so you're just gonna be with me. Today is another extraordinary day as I'm interviewing one of the biggest b-boys in the world. He has been seen at Madonna's tours, he's been seen at Red Bull BC, and I am honored and thankful to be talking with no one else than Bboy Neguin.
Am I being or not being? That is the question to ask of a person who treads lightly on the surface and wants to uproot hate. To be born with a skin that they make me feel as a sin stifles my mind, and so I just be. To oppose displays that I chose. What I am being, free, 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 free. To be ashamed of a skin I had no control I was born in is a pain that makes the slumber of death welcome.
So if you don't know who Bboy Neguin is, he was born and raised in Brazil. He started with capoeira, went into martial arts such as jiu-jitsu, and later on went into breaking, where he combined his background of martial arts and capoeira into his style. He has been blowing away the world since then and has been touring in more than 130 countries. He's also been doing some of the biggest commercial gigs a dancer can do, as being a part of Madonna's MDNA tour. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't wait to get into this interview and really asking who Bboy Neguin is. But first, you already know what to do. Don't forget you can comment on every video on YouTube and Facebook. If you're more of a podcast listener, don't forget we are on Spotify, iTunes, so please leave your comment, rate, share with a friend, and don't forget now you're part of the tribe of dancers and real life stories. Now, let's get into it. Welcome to this interview, Neguin.
Thanks for having me. Hey.
I'm so happy to have you. Where in the world are you located right now?
Right now I'm in my hometown. It's called Cascavel, Paraná, Brazil. That's where I grew up. So, in this pandemic time, I chose to be here with my mom. So it's a perfect time to be here around my family.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I feel like, when the world are upside down, we tend to come back to places that means a lot to us. And I actually wanted
Mm-hmm.
to ask you about Paraná, because I
Mm-hmm.
saw in one of your interviews that was where you grew up. And I just
Mm-hmm.
wonder if you could tell me a little bit about the place. Tell me, what is
Mm-hmm.
Paraná like?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's in a very um, deep south of Brazil. It's in the border with Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. So, despite the fact that we're in this, what do you call, like the triplicy border, which like 3 4 different countries coming together with the cultures aligning. So but here in this particular area, it's like there's a lot of nature around here. So there's the biggest waterfall. So it's like a trending city. That so many universities happening here. A lot of people come to study here. So it's a pretty nice place. And of course, when it comes to arts, there's a lot of artists out here, more towards like music, and then find so many different performers. So, and on top of that, of course, martial artists too. This is a very famous city for having one of the greatest fighters here in Brazil. So yeah, there's a lot of
Oh,
capoeira, jiu-jitsu, MMA, so yeah.
you're definitely a product of your environment then.
Absolutely. That's where I grew up, so like when you're a little kid in this area, in this environment, it's just like, well, you gotta go outside, be active, enjoy the nature, and then when you go to the city, it's like, okay, the city offers you a lot of a lot of these activities such as martial arts and different sports. So definitely it shaped my approach to my career later on.
Yeah, for sure. And your family, are also artists, or how is your family structure looking like?
Well, I have a brother and a sister who are older than me. I'm the youngest. And they used to dance, they used to do a lot of different arts, but as they got older, they're just like, okay, I'm gonna settle down and have families. But at the same time, they're still artists, because the artists in here and is the way they is their style, is their swag, is their way of life. So I would say my family is pretty much artists, yeah, for sure.
Mm. What would you say would be one of your favorite family traditions from your area and from the part of Brazil where you're from?
hmm Well, the tradition here, like Brazil, it's so mixed, like we're the most, I would say, we're the most diverse people on the planet because there's so many mixtures, with cultures in Brazil. And I think from my family, like especially my sister say, "Hey, I'm gonna introduce you to capoeira at early age, 3 years old." So I was like, why my sister had the conscience? Because she's like, you know what, capoeira is a way of life. It's your education. It's your discipline. It's your self-defense. It's holistic. It's what represents the Afro-Brazilian culture, like, so, which is the heritage of the humanity, but at the same time it's something that's genuine from Brazil. So my sister brought me to capoeira because she knew, like, this is part of your history, your tradition, your culture, and this is what you represent. So I think it's about like direction. So my family is structured in a way like, hey, we don't have money to travel or pay for a lot of stuff, but we're gonna make sure that you have the best of something that involves your art together. So yeah.
Yeah. And what would you say has influenced the most from the capoeira? Because it's not just a
hmm
martial arts, it's not just a dance style, it's like, as you say, a whole lifestyle. So what part of
hmm
capoeira has had most impact on you as a person?
hmm well, I would say like capoeira, it's like it's such an amazing art form. There's so many art form within capoeira. So let's say if today I don't want to play capoeira, exercise my body, I can talk about capoeira as I'm talking to you right now. And this is practicing capoeira because as deeper you talk about that, deeper you go. It's just so, it's like it's a constantly ongoing process and learning experience. So that's why in a martial art perspective, if you train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 7, 8 years, you're black belt. In capoeira, I trained for 30 years and I'm only instructor. So it takes a level for you to become a professor, a master, because it's a whole lifetime dedication. So I would say like the capoeira, the main reason why you're in capoeira is what can you do for capoeira, because it's for all of us. So it's in the ghettos, in the universities, it's in Sweden, it's in Brazil, it's in Siberia, it's everywhere. So everybody has a way to get to learn about this civilization. I wouldn't even say culture, it's a civilization.
For sure. And the music is very spiritual. How has it affected your way of interpreting like other music in general, coming
hmm
from that background?
yeah, it's definitely it's like ancestrality. It's just like it's ancestral. So it's something that goes way back, like, so from the first mankind, I would say. Because if you take the instrument, the beating ball, for instance, dong dong jing dong ding. So that instrument is the first guitar of the humankind, I would say.
Hmm.
you know and then if you take that tabak, the drum, it's like the drum speaks for itself. It's a drum, so it's been there for thousands and thousands of years. So just the instruments from capoeira is already like very powerful because they're so ancient. And the thing is, you don't go to buy an instrument in a store. You need to know how to manufacture that. What it means, you have to study biology. You have to study okay, how to go to the nature and find the right tree, to cut it properly so it grows normal, so you can take it, and how you make your own beating ball, like handcraft. So it's not just playing beating ball, it's how to make it and understanding, and it goes way deeper. That's what I say. Like most of the things that you do, like, okay, I'm gonna go buy a guitar. Capoeira doesn't happen like that. So you know you have to learn everything. Everything has a meaning. Everything has a authentic way for you to represent that art form.
Yeah, for sure. I think we can come back to this later because I think it's such an interesting way that has influenced you in a very unique way that a lot of other b-boys maybe don't necessarily have. um
Hmm.
and and I yeah, so you started when you were 3 with the
Hmm.
capoeira. Did the martial art come before the breaking as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I only got into dance when I was about 12 to 13. So it was like 10 years already in martial arts. So actually, then martial arts was a structure for me to self teach myself, like, okay, how can I take everything I know from capoeira and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because I was already doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu at that time too as a little kid, and combine with breaking, which is a so-called American culture, that comes from New York and I'm Brazil. It's like, okay, I need to bring something that I don't want to dance like the Americans. I don't want to dance like the Europeans. I don't want to dance like the Asians. But I have to study this art form of breaking, and that's looking to New York City. So I had to master that in a sense. Okay, I want to study hip hop culture because not just about breaking. I will understand about the graffiti, DJs, MCs, and so on. So, and the meaning and the philosophy behind. So, I think like when it comes to culture, you really have to understand how a culture come to existence. So yeah, so of course capoeira comes first, and then as I went into hip hop culture, I was like, okay, this is so important as much as capoeira, so I need to combine those together. So that's when I actually moved to New York, and like I dedicate myself more into knowledge of hip hop culture.
And I heard that you, as many other hip hop dancers, the first introduction you have is from those tapes, like the old school tapes, and you seeing them.
Hmm.
Do you remember what was your first thought when you saw the first tape of breaking?
Hmm. Yeah, well, for me it was like, obviously my generation was like from 2000, so we're not talking about YouTube or internet yet. So of course I had to gather information from videotapes. And for me it was like, wow, I'm watching this videotape, and if this is Remind or Paul One or Ken Swift, those guys are the pioneers, the legendary or whatever from this culture. And I can technically do their movements because of capoeira and the similarity. I was like, wow, this is something that it's possible for me. So I'm gonna really dedicate myself to develop my style as fast as I can. And took about 5 years until I started actually traveling internationally, competing and so on. So for me, it was like from videotapes, seeing the people that inspire me the most. 5 years later, I was battling them and I was competing with them and I was performing with them. It was like, this is crazy. This guy, it's my hero, and I'm right here working with him. I'm inspiring him, inspiring them. So that's the most amazing thing about this culture, because everybody's still there, active, and like, wow, dude, I used to watch this guy, and how this guy is being inspired by me, and we can learn and teach from each other. So it's a beautiful thing.
What was the first trip you did outside of Brazil?
Hmm. Uh, Before breaking, I used to travel already internationally with capoeira, but with breaking, my very first trip was to South American countries. So I went to Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, and then of course the farthest one was Korea. So South Korea was the first big competition that I went there actually with my crew, Tsunami All Stars. And nobody knew us at the time, but my crew is very complete because 10 members from my crew, we're all play capoeira. We're all very diverse when it comes to breaking, because we dance, we do power moves, we flip around. We're just like complete b-boys. A lot of crews like, oh, there's this guy here is really good in footwork. Oh, this other good one in power move. Like our crew was like structured by guys who are already like individually their next level. So that's why together, that's why we say Tsunami All Stars, because we're from different cities and we came together to say, hey, we have similar styles because of our background as capoeiristas and the names that we have in breaking. So we need to put it together as a team and try to put Brazil in the map. So that's when we went to Korea, So yeah.
For sure. And like with the Tsunami All Stars, what was your begin? I mean, since you went from like being a solo dancer into becoming a crew dancer, what was your biggest
Hmm.
learning moments there?
Well, it's like when you work with groups, collective, it's hard sometimes because relationships are hard. Sometimes you just like you don't agree with somebody, and like there's tension going on because especially guys, especially b-boys. So if there's no feminine energy around guys like that, it can get like super. So I was like, wow, how can we, so I was seeing like from the hard time, like issues from the crew, and then being so happy to be in the crew. I was like, well, we need a balance. So I think like how to deal with your crew, your group, your friends, and understand like, wow, this is like it's too many alphas in one crew. Everybody's just like burning. So I was like, okay, we need to have balance here. So that's when I actually shaped my style because like, see, I'm not just a b-boy in the crew. I bring house music into the b-boy vibe. So, of course, the house music elements, like the music says like, okay, I love you, whatever. So the b-boys, they're like too stiff. They're gonna like, okay, wow, I feel good. I'm gonna break into house music, and that kind of like, drop like the high temper of the crewmates, and then becomes more peaceful, and then more peaceful, there's more union, and there's no beef. So, and just like there's more creation, and then creation keeps evolving. So yeah, so what I learned the most, especially with my crew, was about like how to get into combining things and make something more harmonic.
Yeah, and being the peacemaker in the
Yeah,
group.
pretty much.
So I also saw an interview with you when you talked about like everywhere can be a source of inspiration, and that the environment for you is very important because it is your inspiration. Do you have any favorite environments that you have been training in?
Well, nature. That's straight up because yesterday, the last time I was training, I was in the grass. So for me, if you have the sun, you get in the vitamin D. So if you flip on the grass bare feet, you actually aligning your chakras, your EMF, electromagnetic fields. So it's a whole perspective for you to look like, well, it's healthier than me training in a gym, clothes, or whatever. So for me, I take advantage of nature. Whatever I go, I make sure I enjoy nature. Like even like the last time I was in Gothenburg, I was like, okay, cool. I want to move around. I want to see the parks. I want to see what's happening here, because I'm like constantly in my traveling, I'm like trying to find nature because that's what keeps me fresh. And regardless if I'm just talking about dance or the way of training, but it's just like a way of life. So everything's around nature, and when you're aligned with nature and you're aligned with the universe, and then there's no way to best describe that.
Yeah, I saw you even were breaking on snow. How did you feel like the element of snow was for you?
Yeah, wow. I've been traveling over 130 countries by now, and everywhere I go, it's like, wow, I'm in Tromsø, somewhere in Norway, seeing the northern lights. So it's like, and I'm breaking there. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm from Brazil, like tropical country. And then the next time I'm like in Africa, and then I go back to New York, which is. So I think I become like a chameleon. I get used to change my color and the way I am to the environment. So that's a beautiful thing about being able to travel. You got to see so many different cultures, countries, cultures, weather difference. So that's all adding to your knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. And like, what would you say? Being from Brazil, you most often have to represent the entire South America. Like, you are most of the times the only one in bigger competitions. But how would you say the
Hmm.
breaking scene is in Brazil? Is it very much influenced by the capoeira and the jiu-jitsu, or like or do you feel like the scene is represented in a good way as it is right now, or would you see any difference in the scene?
Yeah, I would say Brazil. It's like there's so many talents out here. And Brazil is always being like well represented, regardless if it's me as the only world champion. But Brazil always had something very special here that people always love how to enjoy themselves. So that can translate into whatever style of dance or culture they practice. They do it from the heart. They really have, they love that. So when it comes like to energy, Like people maybe sometimes like, oh, this kid that doesn't have much, you know, he's poor from the ghetto, whatever. He's happy, he's there, he's pursuing his dreams, you know. So I would say like I was someone that being able to represent Brazil, I represent Brazil in a way of like, see, like, guys, pay attention, look in Brazil, look what Brazil has, you know. So for me, that always was my mission to, you know, make sure that I represent the voice of this part of the world, you know. And not just Brazil, but Venezuela, you know, a lot of countries around here. There's so many talents, you know, that of course they sometimes don't have the opportunity to be traveling, competing, and highlighting their skills at big events, but they're active, they're so good. So yeah, and I would say not many people in Brazil, like not many b-boys, they practice capoeira. Like there's a lot Brazilians, they know, okay, they heard about capoeira. Oh yeah, that's capoeira, but they don't study. You know, it's like it should be like mandatory. It should be something that like, wow, this is part of you. This is part of your history, your country. So sometimes people they don't take advantage of something they have that's from themselves. It's like, okay, we have fresh fruit here in Brazil, right? We have mango. You can smell the mango. We have bananas. And people's like, yeah, whatever. I don't eat bananas. I don't eat mangoes. And then I live in New York. Then you pay $5 for a mango or two, you know. And people like, oh, I need those mangoes. I'm gonna pay a lot of money for those mangoes. So what I'm saying, I think sometimes people they just don't realize like the advantage they can take from some like, wow, you can pick a mango from a tree, and this has powerful medicine for you. You know, a lot of good vitamins for yourself. So take advantage of that. I feel like the country needs to be more awakened when it comes to like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna really look into my culture, so that creates something that you can highlight around the world, you know, like, and that's in everything. That's with bossa nova. Bossa nova came out of Brazil because of that, you know, only going from Brazil to take over the world. And people like, oh, I heard about bossa nova. Oh, I heard how Pelé plays football. Oh, I heard about the how the UFC fighters was created by Brazilians, by the Gracie family, you know. Oh, okay, so everything comes to, oh, the Formula One dude, you know, Ayrton Senna, you know. So Brazil has so many talents out here that needs to take advantage more of what the country has to offer in order to, you know, inspire the world.
Yeah, for sure. And also looking into the commercial scene, you are also one of the few, maybe from your country, that has made it on such an international commercial level. So, what was your first commercial gig, if I may ask?
hmm Well, I think my very first commercial gig outside of Brazil, it was like, let me put this way, because when I got the opportunity to travel outside of Brazil, it was obviously competing. So I was like, okay, competition is gonna be my gateway for my career, for my highlights of what I do, not just because I'm a competitor, because before b-boy, before any label, I'm an artist. So if I sing, if I'm DJ, if I do martial arts, if I dance, if I do this, if I can dance at a Red Bull BC1 and I can be the choreographer for Madonna, that's good for me. You know, I'm gonna pursue that. So, oh, Neguin was in Gothenburg judging, but now he's here with J Lo. You know, so for me, I never put a label on myself, and I think that's why I was able to bring my art to anywhere I go. You know, Cirque Soleil or whatever, because I expand my vocabulary as an artist. Like, okay, where can I represent who I am? So if you look at my Instagram is Neguinism, because there's no label, oh, B-boy Neguin, DJ Neguin, whatever. It's just like what I am as an artist. And that art can be reflecting as commercial or non-commercial. You're gonna see
Mm.
Neguin dancing a cipher somewhere in the street. You're gonna see Neguin jumping in the park, and you're gonna see Neguin doing commercial for Apple or Red Bull or whatever, you know. So yeah, so I think like everything aligns together when you just know the worth of your art and what you do and put value into it, and you just go out there, you know, and highlight that.
Mm, for sure. And I think a lot of people have seen you doing the Madonna tour. How did you end up getting that gig? And was it like from seeing, did she see your freestyle videos at the Red Bull BC, or how did that happen?
Mhm. That's a funny story because, you know, way before I think I would ever meet Madonna, I was like, you know what? I love her songs, especially from the 90s, you know? Like I grew up because my sister used to listen to that all the time. I was like, wow, like music, Justify My Love, Frozen, you know. I was like, wow, those are dope songs. And, you know, she's dope. And I always respect her because, like, wow, Madonna actually put like some dope dancers in her shows, you know, like she's not like, oh, you need to be tall, blue eyes, whatever. Like she's like, oh, you do bone breaking, come over here. Oh, you do a slack line, come over here. Oh, you voguing, come over here. Oh, you whacking, come over here. Are you breaking, you know? So I was like, this is an artist that understand other sorts of artistry, you know, as well. So long story short, she heard I was in New York at the time. That was in 2008. And she's like, oh, this guy is in New York and I saw some clips of him, so I want to meet him. So Norman, a friend of mine, he was working with her at the time, and Norman came to me and said, Neguin, Madonna wants to meet you. Let's go to her house tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay. I go to her house tomorrow. So, you know, and then you have the perception of like, wow, how are we going to go to celebrity's house somewhere, you know? Anyway, okay,
Security
57th
check.
Street. Yeah, just like, long story short, I went to her house and then I literally just saw her. She's like, hey, nice to meet you. You want some acai? You know, I have some acai, whatever. I like your art. I gave like maybe, I mean, she gave me about like 5 minutes conversation. I was like, oh, that's crazy, you know? I went back home and then she contacted me later on and say, hey, I would love to work with you, you know, like you're amazing talent, whatever, whatever, whatever. I was like, yeah, it's gonna be my pleasure, you know, it's a dream to be able to collaborate with you and create art together, and that eventually happened. So we start working together, and then we had our, how can I say, we had an experience outside of working, so we become good friends and everything. So you know, I had a very intimate relationship with her at the time in about like 4 to 5 years that we've been together, you know. So it was a nice experience working with her. It was a nice experience like getting to um show like, okay, this is not just the Neguin as a dancer, but you know, this is who I am as a person. So you know, because sometimes you're just like, wow, but you work with a celebrity, how do they live, you know? Like sometimes we're going to have dinner together or going to a party. It was like, oh wow, I, you know, there's a paparazzi right here ready to take a picture, you know. Or so yeah, I'm just trying to put a little together the ideas how thing comes to existence, because she came after me for work, and then I wasn't expecting, and it was a dream come true to work with her, and then ended up having a good relationship.
Yeah. What would you say be one of the craziest working experience on being on tour and stuff like this?
Wow, I think like it's such an amazing environment when you traveling with other talents. You know, I have that with Cirque du Soleil, and I have that especially the MDNA tour. There was like such a nice lineup of dancers. So you're just like, wow, I'm here training my thing, and the bone breakers are here listening to flex dance music. That already inspires you, because like, wow, they listen to different music and they're pure getting down with the dance. There's nobody hold them back. So when you're traveling and you're eating well and you're laughing and you're working and you're getting paid, you know, it's like, wow, cool, I'm doing what I enjoy. I'm not like bored somewhere in the office, you know, like drinking coffee and then try to get this thing done. You just like pure enjoy the fact that you're performing and you're healthy and all of those things together. So the memories that I have from working like that is just like a pure amazing vibe, because you're working, but you don't feel like you're working. It's just like you enjoy every second of it. So that's a good experience.
Cool. And you said how many countries you've been in? 130?
9.
Wow. So, yeah, I
Yeah, and
mean,
I'm
you
only 32.
right. So you have been more than 130 countries more than than a lot of people. How, what would you say as a traveler? One of your favorite spots?
Oof, that's a hard question. But I would say New York City though. I live in New York City. um I had a really good relationship with the culture. I mean, seeing myself, okay, if I'm in my apartment and I go a few blocks down and they're dancing in the park, you know, there's a Soul Summit party happening in Brooklyn. I'm like, wow, this is so unique. You know, you don't find this nowhere else, where people they really go to the culture and dance. They're drinking water. Nobody's there like, oh yeah, let's get high, let's get drunk, whatever. It's like everybody's pure getting down to music and celebration and happiness. So what comes to my mind to answer the question would be New York times, like summertime, I would say, you know, like there's moments, there's There's moments in New York that just like is the best place in the world. And then of course I think about Indonesia. I like Bali a lot. Brazil. I like Africa. You know, the whole continent. There's so many amazing countries for you to visit. You know, Kenya. Wow, such a beautiful place where you go and you just like, wow, I understand what is humanity now. I understand what is why I came to existence. You know, it's just like it's sometimes are just things that you just feel it when you go there. There's no way to describe. It's just like pure experience to live there. And I'm lucky enough to be able to experience that by traveling, you know. So I don't have one particular place, but I can
Yeah.
mention a few, and that's New York, Bali, Brazil. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, New York in the summer without any AC, it's a hot place with a lot of people, but it's very unique. I
I love it.
agree. All right. Well, I also noticed that you said like, oh yeah, people don't have to, be high or drunk or anything. And I know
Hmm.
you're training, you're taking good care of your body, and you also mentioned like you eating more vegan. Like, has that had an impact on
Hmm.
you as a athlete and as an artist?
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm not 100% vegan, but traveling make me be okay. Is everything? Let me put it this way. I would say have a balance because let me put this is in this perspective for you to understand. I was vegan and I went to China for about a month that I was there, and I couldn't find vegan food. I couldn't find fresh vegetables. So I was like, dude, I'm about to get sick here for real because I just don't have the resources. Even though you put so much energy just like into your diet, it's like, wow, every hour I need to be focused on what I'm eating, what am I putting in my body, and then you realize you're just not enjoying yourself anymore. You just like
Hmm.
rushing yourself to find your damn vegan food or whatever. So um but if I have opportunity to just like, okay, wow, I'm going towards this way, works for me, you know. If it doesn't, I'm gonna try to find a plan B, a second option, you know. So I'm not very strict with diet like that because my body reacts different. Like sometimes I eat organic meat, my body feels great. I'm explosiveness is like it's unbelievable. My eye, like my perception is like, wow, it's like, how to explain things like that. It's just like sometimes I'm just like eating only fruits and I see myself climbing trees. I'm like, why I'm so in this energy of going to nature and climbing tree all the time? So I think like what you put in your body and your mind, food for thought, is what drives you to consciousness. So at the end of the day, it's all about consciousness, and trying to be as much conscious as possible about everything is the ultimate goal. So diet for me is a way of life in many ways. It's not just like what you put into your body for sure.
For sure. Like, what would be one of your favorite things to feed your mind with on a daily basis?
Positivity. Because you face so many negativity all the time. If you look, I was like, oh, that's negative. Somebody talk shit about me. Somebody wrote this. Oh, somebody look at me in a certain way. You just like, I try to take everything like, oh, this person looks mad at me. I give love back to that person. So you know how to take energy that comes like maybe in a difficult way and you convert that into something positive. So that's the most, it's a martial art concept because like somebody can like, hey, I'm gonna beat you up, I'm gonna fuck you up, whatever, and you're just like, oh, okay, cool, look, I'm giving you love. I could kill you right now, but I'm not gonna do it, because I'm calm, I know how to breathe, I know how to handle the situation. At the end of the day, we're drinking juice together. You know what I'm saying? So the martial arts were like that. We're just like, dude, you don't know who you're messing with. Like don't be aggressive with me because I could destroy you in a second. So we know the inside of ourselves. But what we highlight first, you know what? Here he goes. I give you love. We don't need to fight. We create peace, unit, love, and having fun, which is the concept of hip hop culture. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about an ancient form of, like being a high spiritual person as a shaman, because a shaman is gonna do the same thing to you. It's like, oh, here's a medicine for you. Here's ayahuasca. You're gonna heal yourself through the medicine. You're gonna go through hard work, but I'm helping you to grow.
Mm.
Here's some water for you to drink. You thirst. It's like it's when you give something positive to other beings. It's that's what it is.
For
Yeah.
sure. And I also saw that you said once that two of the things that a lot of b-boys and b-girls girls are missing is the breathing and the looking up part. Is that because in capoeira you have to look everywhere, otherwise you get a
Hmm.
kick in your face? Do you feel like
Yeah,
that is something that you got from there and a lot of other dancers are
yeah,
missing?
yeah. Well, dancers, we don't have like coaches basically. We're self-taught, right? Which is beautiful because you like, okay, well, I'm training my breaking, nobody's teaching me or whatever. But sometimes you don't realize that you've been practicing for so long and you've been making mistake for so long because you don't have anybody to actually correct you. Most of the cases are like that. So sometimes be like, oh, I danced for 10 years. And then when I freeze, I still don't have stamina. I still don't have air. It's like while you're breathing, you're not inhale or exhale in the perfect timing. So, you put oxygen into your body, your mind and your soul. So breathing is everything. So sometimes it's not conscious how you can make more as a performer, easier job for you, and understanding, okay, I'm going to do a certain move here that takes a lot of energy. How can you balance that energy? How can you make something so difficult look easy? You know? So there's a way to practice that. But I think like dancers, we're just like we listen to the music and we go out and dance. Like you don't really see like from other sources. Okay, how does a swimmer swimming breathes? How do a boxer, when a boxer have a teeth protector? Hmm? So breathe more from the nose. So it's a fire of breath, the same one they use in yoga, you know? So you have to constantly, that's knowledge. That's the fifth element of hip hop culture. When you study everything else, okay, let me understand about the Muslims. Why do they pray 5 times a day in a certain time facing Mecca? Why do the Christians blah, 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 blah? Why, what is Kabbalah? What is shamanism? Like there's so many ways for you to look. So that's the same thing when it comes to your body. How does a capoeirista breathe? How does a yoga practitioner breathe? So I think dancers, they need to dedicate more towards that in order to take advantage of the art forms that's out there to help you physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree because it's like you see a lot of dancers dancing and then you're not seeing them in a flow. And then
Hmm.
it's not connected with the birth. So that is some
Yeah,
training to do. That is some training.
absolutely.
One of the other things I've been thinking about when it comes to your dancing style is that you fly a lot. Is it like a
Hmm.
childhood dream of like, being a superhero or fighting gravity, or where does
Hmm.
all the flying come from in your style?
Wow, you went deep. I put this way, when my mom was pregnant, expecting me, she had cravings of eating seeds and seeds that specifically birds eat, like, okay, so it was like basically she was eating bird food, you know and they were like, oh, you crazy, why are you craving to eat bird food, and she was eating that. So, and when I was born, of course, the doctor, at the time say, hey, he's gonna fly the world. I don't know why the doctor said that, and then as I grow, you know I start traveling at age of 13. So literally traveling as flying, as just like gravitating my body from the ground to the air and actually seeing the world. So I don't know, maybe if you take in a spiritual context, I might have a bird spirit, on the other side, maybe it's my mom's fault by eating bird food. I don't know.
Who came first, the hen or the egg? That's the that's the question.
Exactly.
That's
And oh yeah,
awesome.
and the amazing thing to say that is like wherever I grow, I find birds coming to my hands. I have like wild birds, like like I'm in Paris, wild bird come out of nowhere, and I have footage all of that. I post many in stories in my Instagram or whatever, but I have at least 7 footage of different birds that I encounter. Like, whoa, whoa, there's a bird here. Okay, I take him in my hand, I talk to him, he's kind of sick or whatever, he gets energy and then he doesn't want to fly, and then I feel love and connection. So some people say, Neguin, you bird whisper, I don't know if I'm that, but it's just amazing because you're not holding a dog, it's like you're just a bird, like nobody really see like a bird flying straight to my hands. So I don't know. I think like as I see myself, like I want to fly like a bird. I want to be a bird. I want to become a bird. I become that somehow.
Oh, for sure. We all
Yeah.
agree. The world agree. Okay. No, for sure. Like I think that that's so interesting. Now I just want to hear, do you have a favorite bird from Brazil?
Yeah. Um, we have birds here that they're small and they're so loud, like they're very powerful. So there's fast, sleek. We call them Canário Terra. So it's like it's earthy, like a bird that we have here. And he's my favorite because he sings very loud and like very territorial, like, hey, I'm here. I'm showing off my talent, you know and that's like a powerful way because that's what I am as a person, like I show off not because I want to show off, say like, hey, I'm Neguin, I'm this and this and that. It's like, hey, look what I do, and I'm the voice of this beauty that I have. So if God gave me a gift to share to the world, I'm gonna be loud and be fast and be flying around just like I am. So I think it's the similarity that we have, So I would say I have a favorite bird here, Canário Terra, and we have so many around. So
I'm gonna look it up for sure. My mom used to go to
yeah.
Brazil and photograph birds in the Amazon. So one
Oh
day I will
yeah,
also come. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. We have the
And
biggest national bird park here anyway too. It's called Parque Nacional das Aves. So it's huge. There's so many birds from around the world. Like it's the biggest. So basically, like, they're free in the forest, but still you're able to go there and see them. Like it's a very uh special place to visit here.
yeah, I also heard you have like the smallest birds in the world, like the colibri birds.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah, the
absolutely.
variety, man. I
Yep.
I think we only have the ducks over here and the eagles, maybe. All right. Well, I feel like you've given me a lot of information, but I also know that you're a student for life. You love to learn, and I'm now gonna play like a little end game to wrap this interview up with you, called Fill
Mm-hmm.
in the Sentence. Right? So the first one would be easy because we just talked about it. If I was an animal in my next life, I would be,
Okay.
yeah,
So you ready?
yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, a bird.
Yeah, check. All right. So it's going to be variation of this. Yeah. You're going to end my sentences. Movement is
Hmm.
for me.
Everything.
I view activism as.
A voice.
I get surprised when.
I see myself.
The person who had the biggest influence of me growing up was.
My mom.
The first thing I bought with my own money was.
Bicycle.
Hmm. I kind of want to see a picture of it now. I want to know what you bought. Okay. My favorite place in my mind is.
Oof. Mm, mm, um, darkness.
Ooh, okay. Do
Mm-hmm.
you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Darkness. Everything comes out of darkness.
Okay, that's
Mind you,
interesting.
darkness is conscience. So dark matter.
Okay, that's gonna be the next interview. We're gonna take that. All right. One big fear that I have overcome.
Ooh, lose someone you love.
I sign up for that one for sure. When I need a peaceful moment, I.
Mm, sleep.
Okay, simple. That's great. The world needs more.
Love.
My proudest moment was.
Um, my proudest moment was um, when I see my. Oh, I have to elaborate on that.
Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead. Go ahead.
um, see my sister with her family, with her kids. So my
Oh,
nephew, in one word. Yeah.
your nephew. That do you
Mm-hmm.
have? Are you teaching him to become a dancer?
Oh yeah, he's a dancer already. He's doing capoeira. He's doing everything.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, last one. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Freedom for me means.
Freedom for me means be, to be free.
Love it. Thank you so much. Like I kind of I always do this in the end of the interviews. I give the
Mm-hmm.
microphone to my guest. Is there anything that you want to say to the audience out there? Is there anything that we should look out for your future?
Mm-hmm.
Like what are your next steps now after Corona and everything is over?
Mm-hmm.
The mic is yours.
Yeah. Well, I would say just live your life to the fullest, because like there's for me there's no tomorrow. We don't know. Like the future is unknown. We don't know about future. We know about now. So just enjoy your life as much as you can right now. Take care of yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, the positivity, because sometimes we work hard for something and then that becomes something that's like, oh, it's not what I wanted, so now I'm depressed. Oh, the corona is getting me crazy. Shit, okay, I'm gonna so there's a lot of things that's gonna be like something to step is like to stop you from growing. But at the end of the day, when you live in your life and you're conscious with positivity, then you're growing up. So yeah, just live it up, just enjoy life to the fullest.
That's amazing. And when will we see you next? Do you have anything in the future coming up that we should look out for, stay tuned for?
Well, yeah, I'm producing a couple movies right now, so short films, stuff like that. So I think the world is gonna be seeing me more into content materials that I'm creating right now. So I'm trying to put it together, my art, in a way that can inspire people, especially in this time right now that I'm not traveling. But how can I touch and be in contact with the world? Keep inspiring them. So yeah, so towards the movies and the creations that I'm creating right now, you guys gonna see me
Yeah,
somehow. We're gonna connect.
for sure. I mean, your Instagram is already filling up with new videos and everything, and we're going to link everything in this description of this episode. So I just want to say thank you
Hmm.
so much from the bottom of my heart for taking this time out. I definitely look forward to connect with you somewhere in the world in the future again.
Thank you so much. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.